a major consulting firm in the city center. Morning. In a glass conference room sits the recruitment manager, Mark Henderson. He flips through resumes without even looking up at the candidate who just walked in. A black man, Daniel Carter, calmly takes a seat across from him. He is dressed sharply, without unnecessary flash, composed and confident. "Well, your experience is interesting," Mark says with a cold smirk. "But let's be honest, positions like this usually require a different level of cultural fit." Daniel calmly asks, "What do you mean by different level?" Mark leans back in his chair. "Corporate environment, clients, you understand." Tension fills the room. Mark begins asking questions with clear bias, interrupting Daniel and making condescending remarks about team risks. Daniel writes something in a notebook. His face remains calm, but his eyes grow sharper and more focused. When the interview ends, Mark doesn't even stand up. "We'll get back to you. Although, honestly, I'm not sure this is your level." Daniel simply nods. "Understood." He leaves the room, pauses briefly in the hallway, and his phone lights up with a message. "The board of directors is awaiting your final evaluation of the team composition. Welcome to the final assessment stage." Frustrated after the interview, Mark sends HR a note. Candidate is questionable, not aligned with corporate culture. An hour later, chaos breaks out in the office. Security receives an alert about a suspicious individual who allegedly is not registered as an executive. Daniel is stopped near the elevator. "Sir, we need you to come with us for verification," the security guard says. "I already completed registration. There's an error in your system," Daniel replies calmly. But they still escort him to a waiting room. Employees whisper and exchange uneasy glances. Down in the lobby, a random employee records the situation on their phone. That's the same candidate who got humiliated in the interview. Looks like security just detained him. The video quickly goes viral. Meanwhile, Mark has no idea what's happening. He jokes with a colleague. "Another failed candidate. Some people just don't understand their place." But the atmosphere in the office begins to shift. Executives start receiving alerts about an incident involving a candidate who is actually the final approving director for restructuring. Name: Daniel Carter. Silence. The lobby video spreads rapidly online. Headlines appear one after another. Candidate humiliated at interview turns out. He approves entire departments. HR mistake or bias. Major corporate scandal erupts. Mark's phone won't stop ringing. He finally opens Daniel's full profile. Title: Director of Strategic Renewal and Executive Composition Approval. Mark goes pale. Meanwhile, Daniel finally leaves the waiting room, accompanied by a member of the board of directors. He says calmly, "I didn't come here to complain. I came to evaluate how the system works from the inside." In the hallway, an HR employee approaches him quietly. We didn't know who you were." Daniel replies, "That's exactly the problem." At the same time, his sister posts on social media, "My brother spent his whole life proving he couldn't be judged by the color of his skin. Today it happened again." The post reaches millions of views. An emergency leadership meeting is called. Mark stands in the center of the room, visibly shaken. Daniel sits across from him. "You thought I didn't fit the culture?" Daniel asks calmly. Mark tries to defend himself. I was just following standards." Daniel interrupts. "No, you followed bias, and the system allowed you to do it." A pause. One of the directors reads the internal investigation results. Systemic violations, discriminatory practices, lack of HR oversight. Mark lowers his head. I didn't mean to, he says quietly. Daniel looks at him without anger. That's what makes it dangerous. You didn't think. The board's decision? Mark is suspended. The HR system is fully overhauled. A new anti-discrimination oversight program and external monitoring are introduced. Later, in an empty office, Mark packs his belongings. He pauses at the door, staring at the company nameplate. His expression is no longer confident, only lost. Meanwhile, Daniel addresses the team in the conference room. I'm not here to tear anything down. I'm here to make sure you build a system where no one is ever judged through biased lenses again. He pauses, and so that no one ever goes through what happened today. The camera, social media, and news outlets captures the moment once again. But this time, it is no longer a story of humiliation. It is a story of exposure and change.